Donald Trump, who has often lied, unquestionably told the truth when he said Thursday was a dark day for America. The ex-president's social media post correctly described the magnitude of his indictment over the alleged mishandling of classified documents, though completely ignored any personal culpability in the case. But the first-ever indictment of a former president by a federal grand jury thrust the country into an unprecedented and perilous moment in its history at a time when it is already internally estranged over politics. Immediate claims by Republicans led by House Speaker Kevin McCarthy that the indictment is evidence of the brazen weaponization of power by the Biden administration ahead of an election in which Trump is running show the extent of the test now faced by the country's judicial institutions. The Speaker's loyalty to Trump, who is still hugely popular among base voters in the GOP, was especially notable since the evidence against the former president is not yet publicly available. While Trump is entitled to the presumption of innocence, the rush to judgment suggests that some of his supporters believe that a former commander-in-chief who was impeached twice, tried to steal an election and is already facing a separate criminal trial next March is essentially above legal scrutiny. This is a position that has huge implication for U.S. democracy. Criminal probes of former presidents and current presidential candidates might be business as usual in tottering developing world states. But there's no parallel for an ex-commander-in-chief facing federal charges in the U.S., much less one who has already incited violence in order to advance his political ends and is currently running to recapture the White House. These 7 counts bring a host of political complications, even if the Justice Department will argue that it's simply following the evidence and is proving that no one, not even former presidents, are above the law. Simply put, Trump is set to be brought to trial by the Justice Department of his successor. In another profound twist, that successor, President Joe Biden, could end up facing the accused in the 2024 general election, in a scenario that would inject new fervor into Trump's claims he's a victim of politicized justice. Trump's supporters already thought that an invisible, deep state establishment was out to get their hero. It will be even worse now. The special counsel inquiry into Trump's handling of classified documents. Trump, who has been preparing the ground for a possible federal indictment for months, and who has been hugely successful in convincing his supporters that any scrutiny of his life, political decisions or business affairs adds up to politicization, wasted no time making that case. "I am an innocent man. I did nothing wrong," the former president said in a video that showed that he is willing to torch America's democratic electoral system if that is what it takes to clear his name. "It's called election interference. They're trying to destroy your reputation so they can win an election. That's just as bad as doing any of the other things that have been done over the last number of years," said Trump, who is due to appear in court in Miami on Tuesday for an arraignment. Why the new indictment could be more serious than the first. Amazingly, this was not the first time Trump was indicted. He already became the first ex-president to be charged with a criminal offense when a Manhattan grand jury indicted him. He faces more than 30 counts related to business fraud in a case arising from a hush money payment in 2016 to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. The case is due to go to trial next March, right in the middle of primary season. Trump has pleaded not guilty. But the indictment by the special counsel in the documents case is a far graver affair and more politically sensitive since it comes from Biden's Justice Department. Trump is facing a charge under the Espionage Act, his attorney Jim Trusty said on CNN Thursday, as well as charges of obstruction of justice, destruction or falsification of records, conspiracy and false statements. While all the exact charges against Trump were not immediately clear, the potential offenses strike at the core of some of the most somber duties of the presidency, including the protection of the country's most vital secrets. And any allegation of obstruction involves another fundamental role of the public trust that Trump held and to which he aspires in the current campaign: the obligation of a president to uphold the laws. The current scenario will test whether the U.S. remains a nation of laws. If evidence exists that Trump has indeed committed alleged breaches of the criminal code, a decision not to charge him would shatter the principle that everyone is equal under the law. But some will ask whether the indictment is truly in the national interest given the backlash against democratic and judicial institutions certain to be whipped up by the ex-president. Thursday evening's news sparked a firm pushback from some Republicans eager to prove their loyalty to Trump. Thanks for watching. Like and follow.